inquire. We're now joined by Gerald Byarugaba, who's a regional advisor for extractive industries, fiscal justice, and just energy transition at Oxfam in Africa. Thank you very much indeed for joining us, and welcome to the program.
My pleasure to be here, Peter. Thanks for hosting me.
All right, let's start with what would you say are the core findings of Oxfam's new report?
Excellent. So, Peter, as you have put it, the core message of this report is that the just energy transition must serve life, not profit. It must not be hijacked for the benefit of a wealthy few and for the already advanced economies to the detriment of countries in the global south. So, unfortunately, what we are seeing is that the same dynamics that drove the historical colonialism are re-emerging now. So, the transition is beginning on a faulty foundation, with unequal distribution of benefits and with climate inequality. I mean, you rightly pointed out that the global south holds roughly 70% of transition minerals, for example, which are key in this energy transition. Yet, the bulk of investments in renewable energy is going to already advanced economies. I mean, talk about 2024, for example. The global investment in clean energy went 50% to the global north, 29% to China, and just under 2% for Africa, despite Africa having vast renewable energy potential, and despite also the fact that sub-Saharan Africa has 85% of the world's population that lacks access to electricity. These are faulty foundations that must be rectified, that must be managed if the energy transition is to be fair and just. Just as another example, because of course, with the transition comes a lot of extraction of the minerals like lithium, like cobalt, like like lithium, like cobalt, like copper, most of which are found within Africa and many global south countries. If you take an example of DRC, which is known to host a bulk of the world's cobalt reserves, just in the year 2024 alone, Tesla, the company that's manufacturing electric vehicles based in the global north, of course, owned by the poster child of oligarchy, Elon Musk, in 2024, they made profit of more than $3,000 per electric vehicle sold. You see, each electric vehicle, the report notes, contains about 3 kilograms of cobalt. But compare that against the $10 that the DRC received in royalties in the year 2024 from each electric vehicle sold, and about only $7 going to the actual miner who bears the brunt of environmental destruction, who does the hard labor of extracting the cobalt. So what we are seeing now is that this is threatening the livelihoods, the labor, and the rights of the communities, and the human rights violations that have been reported in DRC. Communities have been subjected to forced evictions to pave way for extraction of transition minerals. And we are also seeing the same pattern finally in this renewable energy projects, whether that is in Namibia, where the renewable energy projects threaten wildlife, where also as well as in the North Africa, where renewable energy projects large scale are being brought up just to export energy to the north rather than address the energy needs of the very people in Africa who are threatened by lack of energy. So basically, we are seeing a repeat of the past colonial tendencies, and this must be rectified for the energy transition to be fair and just.
So, climate colonialism, hijacking energy transitions. You talked about this vast reserves of transition minerals investment and profits being concentrated elsewhere rather than where they originate. Why is this happening actually?
So again, the key foundation here, the foundational issue here is that there is a repeat of colonialism, the extractivist model that has characterized the global development space since time immemorial. Traditionally, from the start, the extractivist empire came to Africa, extracted gold, silver, and others, and took them to develop their economies. And we are seeing a repeat of the same. I emphasize that's what the report says. And this is what must be rectified. So unless African countries and global north and global south work together to rectify this very foundation, we are going to be seeing more of the same. Minerals extracted in the south, energy generated and consumed in the north, and poverty and human rights escalating in the south. This must be rectified for the energy transition to be fair and just.
So what can African governments do to capture more value from their resources instead of exporting these raw materials?
Fortunately, under the guidance of the African Union and the African Minerals Development Center, Africa has already come up with the Africa Green Minerals Strategy. And the core thrust of this is ensure that Africa gets more value from the transition minerals through value addition on the African continent, and ensuring that minerals are used to deliver energy to Africans rather than a continuation of the export model that has characterized the world. These must be supported. Initiatives like this must be supported. But additionally, in addition to that, there's need to reform the financial system, the very financial system that is enslaving most of the global south, repeatedly are paying more in debt service than delivering energy and health and education to the populations of the global south. So we must overhaul the investment system to ensure that there's more value addition in the south, to ensure that debts that perpetually keep the global south entrapped are cancelled, and that the more grants-based financing comes to the south rather than the north. And this is the financing that will require more value addition and more investment in the projects that need to deliver clean energy to the global south and Africa in particular.
All right. Sadly, that's where we're going to have to leave it. But thank you so much indeed for giving us a chance to interrogate this report. It's a very important story that you're telling there. And sadly, colonial patterns of the past surfacing again in another arena. But thank you so much for giving us the lowdown on the situation there.
My pleasure, Peter.
All right, that was Oxfam's Gerald Byarugaba, who's a regional advisor on extractive industries, fiscal justice, and just energy transition at Oxfam in Africa.
Channel Africa and you have got something in common. The thirst